Hi, this is Elliot, and today I'm going to be talking about John Durham. Remember him? And the Durham Report, which is now public and out. So let's back up and go to 2019 and talk about what the Durham Report is or was or what it was all about. Back then in 2019, you might recall that John Durham, who had been U.S. Attorney in Connecticut, was appointed by Attorney General William Barr to investigate the FBI's investigation into Donald Trump and alleged ties with Russia. Now, the president had been saying quite publicly on Twitter and elsewhere that the country needed to investigate whatever happened with the FBI's investigation of him, that there was a deep state bias against him, and that you had to, in effect, investigate the investigators. He said that this investigation would show that the Durham probe would be the crime of the century. And it was a massive, massive undertaking and the death of America and all of that. Well, the report is out and it really didn't say all that much that wasn't public already. There had been an Inspector General report in 2019 that had found some flaws in the FBI's investigation, but that's really about it. Now, the Durham report really just said that, number one, the FBI, in opening an investigation into former President Trump, had relied on uncorroborated raw intelligence information, and that some at the FBI relied on confirmation bias to open up an investigation that they were already predisposed to wanting to investigate. That was fine. Now, that had sort of been said in 2019, but so really nothing new here. Notably, and this is, I think, the big point here, the Durham investigation, John Durham didn't recommend new charges against anybody to be charged with a crime in connection with this. Didn't recommend any new changes to Justice Department or FBI regulations. He just went ahead and said, there were problems in the investigation. So here we are now, some 4 years later after the opening of this investigation. Congress now, the House Weaponization Committee, which I testified in front of back in February, is going to have a hearing and have John Durham at it very soon. Maybe they'll have other witnesses. We'll see what they do. But what's the big takeaway from all of this? And I think there are a few. One, look, on the question of politics and misbehavior infecting or getting in the way of investigations, look, like Aristotle says, man or woman, people are inherently political beings. Everybody, even Justice Department officials or FBI officials who would purport to not be political are in some ways. Now, there are all kinds of rules, and I worked at the Justice Department for over 6 years. There are any number of rules designed already to protect the people, American people, or the subjects of investigations from politics getting in the way of FBI investigation. You didn't need a report to tell you that, and you don't need any new rules to tell you that. So what we found yesterday was kind of just a bit of I don't know if it's a nothing burger, maybe a nothing sandwich of sorts, but it didn't really say or do anything. There are already protections in place for addressing whatever problems that Barr and Durham think that they thought were there, but really weren't. And moreover, to the point of this question of whether the FBI relied on uncorroborated information or hunches, to some extent, that's how investigations work. To some extent. Now, certainly you don't want your law enforcement agencies going down rabbit holes or witch hunts, as the term might be. But you got to rely on a hunch at some point, because that's how investigations start. And clearly, even where there were instances of relying on uncorroborated data or information, Durham had noted, there's really no one should be charged with a crime here, and existing procedures in the FBI are sufficient to take care of it. So again, I would have been the first person to say, if you need a new law, if something needed to be changed within the FBI, go ahead and change it. But Durham didn't recommend that. And so it is what it is. And there isn't that much taken away from years, and I mean years of bluster from former President Trump about the need for more and reforms and cleaning out the deep state. Well, it just wasn't really here. Finally, on this idea of crimes and prosecutions and should anybody go to jail as a result of anything connected with the Russia probe. Now, I would note, going back 4 years to 2019, since Durham opened his investigation, there have been, count 'em, 3 prosecutions brought by John Durham. One of them pled guilty and did not end in any jail time, just probation. Two of them went to trial and ended up in acquittals. Now, I don't know if you're counting, but 3 prosecutions in 4 years, no verdicts at trial, and no jail time for anybody. That's kind of not a great record, a great prosecutorial record. Now, look, as somebody who's lost criminal cases before as a prosecutor, I get it. You lose sometimes. But at the same time, if in 4 years of being a prosecutor, I'd only brought 3 cases, none of them actually victories in court, I think my bosses would have had a conversation with me saying, this isn't the greatest record. And I didn't even get paid $7 million for it, which is what the Durham investigation cost the American taxpayers. It was $6.5, to be fair, million over the course of 4 years. We need to investigate corruption. We need to investigate misconduct and have the best Justice Department that the American people deserve. But it just doesn't look like after 4 years, this was really the way to go about it. So other than the congressional hearings that will come very soon, I think we've seen the end of the Durham investigation. Didn't really yield that much that hadn't already been public before. And here we are. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back soon.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.